Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Brazilian Dragon podcast. We are here for another spooky season edition on Brazilian Dragontober, and I am the mouse of the house that Mickey owns, Felipe, and I am not alone. I am joined by two of my favorite people to talk anything Disney related. It is Zack and Kaycee. Zack and Kaycee, welcome to the Brazilian Dragon podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yes. How do you want to introduce yourselves to the Brazilian Dragon world as first-time guests?
So we host a podcast as well called Cellular Jam. That was a pandemic project for us. That's how it started. We were mostly talking about movies that came out in 2020.
Wasn't a good year.
That wasn't a good year. And then we stopped making it as much when we went back to work.
So now we release it once a year. At the end of every year, we talk about our favorite movies to come out of the previous year. And we'll have one prepared at the end of this year, talking all about 2024's movies.
Yep. So that Cellular Jam is now a once a year podcast.
And it's one of my favorite things to listen to cap off a year in pop culture, especially as fellow AMC A-listers.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Love Nicole. I'll support her till the end.
Yes, we love Nicole Kidman in this house. Has she ever been in a Disney project?
I'm sure she has.
A voice as someone.
I feel like I need to think. I don't know.
Well, I think the most kid-centric thing that she's in is stuff like Paddington, the first one. I'm sure she is in one. Maybe she could have been in like that Nutcracker movie, or she feels like she could have been in, what was that, A Wrinkle in Time, maybe? It feels like it could have been fit for her. I should have researched this prior to mentioning.
Well, we didn't know we would talk about Nicole Kidman.
Valid. I am on the Disney Princesses and Girls wiki. Nicole Kidman is the voice role of Daphne in The Lion King. Now, who's that?
What?
In the new one?
In the Lion King trilogy.
Daphne?
It says the original one, 1998, Lion King 2 as well, and in Lion King 1.5. Who is Daphne?
Is that like the mom? Is that like Simba's mom?
No, that's Sarabi.
Well, who's Daphne?
Maybe she's one of the evil lions in Simba's Pride, but I feel like at that point she would have been so high profile that she wouldn't be doing straight to Disney videos.
Yeah, she did Eyes Wide Shut.
I think this is probably just like some fake news that someone made up on the Disney Princesses and Girls wiki.
Now I'm going to go check this out now. Continue talking while I go research this, Nicole.
Okay, so truly, I feel like I've seen The Lion King enough times in my life to be like, know if a character named Daphne is in the movie. And you're telling me she's in 3 of them?
I'm very much with you. I'm very lost. But Kaycee, what is your familiarity with the Disney House of Mouse franchise?
So I feel like House of Mouse, sorry, I didn't do too much research into this beyond watching the project, but House of Mouse aired on Disney Channel, right? Or was that
I believe so.
Yeah. So I remember that, watching it on Disney Channel. And I feel like I've seen the House of Villains before as well. When we were looking it up, it was like a direct-to-video thing, but I feel like I would have watched it on Disney Channel if I watched it.
Yeah, Mickey's House of Mouse is kind of it's like the Muppet Show in a way, where they just have Mickey trying to run a show, and they air shorts that previously aired on this other program called Mickey's Mouseworks, which was a lot of in-house shorts in the late 90s, and it aired on Disney Channel. It also aired on ABC Saturday mornings. And it wasn't until the House of Mouse, whenever they started really playing with the fact that they were a bunch of different Disney characters crossing over in a big nightclub. And there were it was very much Avengers Infinity War before that was big, or That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana, a crossover that really hadn't been done since Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I loved it growing up a lot.
I personally was more familiar with the Disney Snowed In at the House of Mouse, the Christmas version of this one.
Yes.
I feel like I had that one on VHS, so we watched it a ton at my house. This one I feel like I had seen before, and I remembered the "It's Our House Now" song, as well as like the last vignette because I remembered them like in an oven for some reason. But I was quite pleasantly surprised at how much of this was like either I watched it and didn't remember it, or it was all brand new to me basically because I hadn't seen it in so long. I had a great time. How about you all?
It was super nostalgic.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I bought this was when it came out. It was September 2002, and my family brought me home from a dentist appointment, and I think I was feeling rough, so they got me Chinese food and a DVD copy of House of Villains. So whenever I was rewatching it yesterday, it did bring back a lot of memories, a lot of the shorts. Some were really put you in the Halloween mood, like the first one where it's Huey, Dewey, and Louie with Witch Hazel helping them get back at Donald, and the other one later where they turn into kind of zombies.
Yeah.
Other ones are like fine, but overall it's like nice and spooky and Halloweeny, puts you in the Halloween mood.
Yeah.
Casey, what about you?
Yeah, even though I definitely watched this at some point, I didn't remember it super well, so it was fun revisiting it. I do think my favorite parts of like House of Mouse or House of Villains are the part where you're actually in the Mickey's clubhouse venue. I like all the stuff then. I'm a sucker for a crossover, unfortunately. So when all the villains are together, oh, it's fun.
I love a good crossover as well. I was snooping on some letterbox reviews of this movie after watching it last night, and someone did say it was one of the most ambitious crossovers, including "That's So Sweet Life" of Hannah Montana was listed on that list as well. The House of Mouse also kind of has like a fun little SNL vibe where it
Yeah.
feels very like, oh, this is like Mickey and his friends making sketches for the clubhouse. And it's very fun. Now, are y'all big Disney villains people? I mean, your Disney background is very impressive, especially you, Zach. Zach, for those who are listening, karaoke songs have included the Naked Mole Rap. There's a Platypus Controlling Me, I believe, has been on that before. Like he has some deep Disney Channel cuts. So Zach has a lot of respect for Disney in this house, as does Casey, because y'all went Disney bounding last week, correct?
Yeah, for Oogie Boogie Bash.
Yes.
Yeah, I was the teacups.
I love it. And
was
how was it?
Oogie Boogie Bash. It was fun. The parade was really good. The Dr. Doofenshmirtz was horrifying, but I don't know. I'm really into him. I'm kind of obsessed with the face character Dr. Doofenshmirtz they have.
Oh my goodness. Whenever I said that I was a big fan of his work, he like stared into my soul because, well, I was Tarzan's treehouse, like the now defunct ride at Disneyland. But I think whenever I was up to him, and you pass by him in a little treat trail, so it's not like you're waiting in line for upwards of 50 minutes. You're just kind of like getting candy, and then the characters happen to be there. So I'm passing by Doofenshmirtz, and I've got a little Tarzan figurine on my hat, and I just tell Doofenshmirtz, "Hey, I'm a big fan of your work," and he's just like really staring into my soul while I pass by, and
it was wild.
It scared me.
That Doofenshmirtz is terrifying. Have you seen the Buford?
Obsessed that passed Disney's quality control. They run everything by like 500 people, and every person was like, "Yes, this is the one. This is the one we're going with."
Have you seen the live action Buford costume?
No.
Ooh. Oh wait, yeah, for Phineas and Ferb on Ice or live on stage.
Yes, that's also terrifying.
The funny thing about the Phineas and Ferb live on stage is that for the most part they've got outfits that look pretty close to the characters, and most of them have eyes, like big, really pronounced plastic eyes over like they're wearing glasses, just so they could look like the characters. So Candace looks wild when she's doing squirrels in her pants.
Hold for sirens.
Whoa, that was a mix-up too.
Oh wow, people be feisty. with that
That
car
was a
horn.
crazy honk. I've never heard that one before.
Felipe, have you ever seen Phineas and Ferb live on stage?
I don't believe I've seen them live on stage. I do believe my brother and I met Phineas and Ferb at Hollywood Studios at one point in time, and we definitely did the Perry the Platypus adventure in Epcot.
Yeah, where it's like a scavenger hunt.
It was so fun, and then when you were done, you had to find like where they hid. They like tell you to put it in this little drop mat thing, but it was like a different item in each country was hidden where you put the cell phone. But it was so fun. There's also like I think it was France where Perry ziplined if you did a certain command. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the live on stage. Would you recommend?
Based on the clips I've seen, it looks horrifying, and I love it. 10 out of 10. The same way that The Substance, the new film that's out in theaters, we saw that, so it's fresh in our minds. Very much like that.
Yes, that's a great timestamp for when we were recording this. Maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before I dropped this. So who knows what the world will look like pop culture wise in about a month. Like maybe The Substance is the next like big ever what's the word I'm looking for? Like top of the stratosphere kind of movie that everyone's
A
talking
moment
about.
of culture, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it is interesting how I feel like wide of a release The Substance is getting, considering how kind of over the top and gnarly and crazy of a movie it is. Like it is. If you're not a fan of body horror, or if you're a little squeamish, it is not the movie for you. I had my eyes shut like a lot of the movie. It's like, oh, I just can't even look at this.
I think it helps that it's so like over the top in its comedic moments. Like it really is so goofy in a way that I think that we had a lot of people laughing in our screening. So that might kind of help that it's so funny just on a surface level thing.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid's really good.
That's what I heard. I heard it was like his best performance.
Didn't know he had it in him. He's just a really gross character in the movie, and didn't know he had that kind of performance in him. He did a really great job. But yeah, back to horrifying body horror, sort of. The Doofenshmirtz at Disney. It is crazy that they're like, oh, we're going to let this pass. But then after we watched House of Villains yesterday, Zach showed me an old Disney cartoon that Disney had banned. It was like, we're never going to show this again, on TV or whatever. And it's like a Frankenstein type situation where essentially Mickey Mouse at the beginning accidentally tells Minnie he's going to take her to Hawaii, but the cost of the trip is $1,000, right? $999.99. He's like, where am I going to get that kind of dough? But then he sees a newspaper ad for someone who I think he's called Dr. Lobotomy. Can go work for him and then make exactly $909.99. But he goes and it's like a big Frankenstein situation where he gets his brain swapped with Julius, a giant Frankenstein-esque monster.
And he looks like Pete, too.
Yes, he looks like Pete. But watching it, I was like, I don't think this is anything scarier than anything in House of Villains. I don't think it's worse than anything in like Fantasia, I don't know what was it about that cartoon that made them say no, we'll never show this again.
I believe that this is a really fascinating tangent because like the short is called Runaway Brain. It was from the mid-90s and it was supposed to be created for Hercules. And I was just thinking, I remember seeing this short years ago and thinking this would have fit in perfectly with House of Villains. But I think the reason why they don't like it, like Disney has really tried to cover this up as the years have gone by, you can find it on the internet, is because it does paint Mickey Mouse at one point whenever he gets a crazy brain inside of him in a deranged way where he looks ratty and he's got sharp teeth. That's the main Disney mascot. So to paint him image-wise in such a horrific way, I'm sure studio heads were like, we can't do this with our icon. And they didn't like it. They now show it at to new employees who work at Disney in a way of saying like, watch this short and don't do anything like this when you work with us.
This is why I needed you two on the podcast, because I feel like I am a nerdy Disney fan, but I had no idea about this. I'm looking this up as you're telling me the story, and these photos of Mickey Mouse are terrifying. Like, don't do that to my boy. But
They
I
said
understand why it was banned if that's the reasoning behind it. But wild plot that he like basically trades brains with Pete.
Well, he's like a monstrous version of Pete that's the size of like King Kong, but he also has Frankenstein tendencies of evil.
it's crazy that they're
Interesting.
like Mickey Mouse isn't allowed to be feral. I feel like in this new era of Mickey Mouse cartoons, he's kind of a little weirdo.
Oh,
And there's some really good, like they're really funny, but you know, like when I don't know, Minnie Mouse says something to Mickey in one of the newer cartoons, like, "Oh, why would you do this for me?" And then he's like, "Because I'm obsessed with you."
I love the new
It's
Paul
so
Rudish
funny.
Mickey Mouse shorts.
And
Have
that's
you?
not Mickey in the best light.
True, true. Have you seen these new Mickey Mouse shorts, Felipe?
I have not, but those are the ones that like kind of the Runaway Railroad like
Yeah,
design.
yeah.
Yes. I've definitely like seen clips on my TikTok or Instagram reels, but like I love that Mickey Mouse is a little bit more of a personality. Like as the years go on, you gotta have him evolve, and it feels like he's in his like dorky dad era.
Yeah, for sure. He is. I remember this era of Mickey back in House of Villains. He's very squeaky clean. This is the Mickey that I kind of grew up with, where he really doesn't have a lot of malice in his body. He's just supposed to be the good guy, clean cut, everyman. That's why Donald is always kind of the central focus of a lot of these as the hot-headed, egotistical
Yeah,
kind of
Mickey
guy.
Mickey is very pure. He's a leader with no bad qualities, really.
And very little backstory.
No flaws. My favorite part of House of Villains is when it's towards the end when they're like, "Oh my gosh, the villains are taking over. We have to stop them." And then Mickey just says what is the line about his boys?
Gotta get my boys, or me and my boys will stop him.
Yeah. Don't worry, my boys are here. Like he says something about his boys, and it's so funny. Just Donald and Goofy. I think he should refer to them as his boys more often.
I think
it's also a very modern term, I think, because this came out early
2002.
2000s. I didn't think people back then were referring to their squad as the boys. I don't know. Makes sense.
I feel like there's one. I'm trying to think of the Mickey Mouse like eras per se, and I feel like there's the squeaky clean version that we grew up with. There's this new version that's like dorky dad, based on the clips and your description, and then there's also like really like unhinged, like energetic Mickey Mouse that's always up to something rambunctious. And we saw a version of this one in the Ghosts Exterminators one.
Yeah.
Like, and there's one that like lives rent free in my brain. It's like when Mickey, Donald, and Goofy go on a road trip in an RV and they're eating like corn on the cob. I don't know if you've ever seen this one, but like that's like the other version of Mickey is like, oh, he's like with his boys and they're always going on some like kooky adventure and they all are very melodramatic and slapsticky.
Yeah, employed Mickey.
It is interesting to look at Mickey Mouse as like Mickey Mouse playing himself, like he is in House of Mouse, where he is just Mickey. He's just the host.
Yeah, he's a performer.
Yes, and then when he's in the cartoons, it's almost like he's an actor.
Kind of like Kermit the Frog and like the Muppet Christmas Carol or Treasure Island.
Exactly. So it is like, is he... I feel like in the newer Mickey Mouse cartoons, that is Mickey playing himself. He just is a weirdo. But Mickey, for the most part of his existence, except maybe the very early days, he himself is a pure, like wholesome leader. And then, but he acts like a little goofball in his cartoons. But that's him acting. Like in House of Villains, when he's in the house.
Whenever he buys the futuristic home.
Yeah. And he's
love that one.
Cranky and silly,
That was fun. Yeah, that's a fun one where his biggest issue or the inciting incident is that he's just having trouble sleeping. In a few problems with his house that he could easily get fixed, he's like, I'm done. I'm moving out. I'm dropping $5 million for this new smart house. Like it's the Disney Channel original movie.
Directed by LeVar Burton.
That is crazy.
Yeah. You mentioned Kermit, and I would be remiss on Jim Henson's birthday to not ask Zach about the iconic team up between Kermit, one of the Fraggles, and Oscar the Grouch.
Oh, so wholesome. I love that. I completely forgot today was Jim's birthday, but I was scrolling on TikTok and then I saw um his name is Gobo Fraggle, right? And him
that's
coming
ringing
out,
a bell.
yeah, he's coming out of the trash can and he meets up with Kermit and they just have a nice little conversation about how they're just enjoying life. And then Oscar comes out of the trash can saying it's all too sentimental for him. But it's really rare nowadays that we get all these characters from these different companies now, because Sesame Street's owned by the Sesame Workshop, Muppets own Disney, and Fraggle Rock right now is owned by Apple.
The Muppets own Disney.
Disney owns the Muppets and Apple owns Fraggle. So the fact that they could all come together even for this short video, it was super sweet. I loved it.
I really disliked Fraggle Rock as a child. No further
Any
comment.
reason?
Just, I want y'all to know. I wasn't a fan.
Is there any reason? Or you just weren't a...
Didn't like the vibes. It was a little scary, I think, as a kid.
You know what the inception for Fraggle Rock was from Jim Henson?
Mm-hmm.
I want to make a show that'll create world peace.
I didn't like it takes place in like a cave, right?
It's underground, yeah. That's where the Fraggles live. They live under Doc's house. He's the human guy with the dog.
I didn't like this like mining culture.
Yeah, Fraggle Rock did not give Kaycee peace.
No.
And then also, can you explain a tweet of yours that I saw earlier about Megalopolis and the Muppets?
Oh, of course. Well, Megalopolis is the new Francis Ford Coppola movie that's releasing very soon. It's been his passion project for decades. Of course, he's directed The Godfather, Apocalypse Now. But in his masterpiece, there is a specific scene that's going to be an immersive experience where a member of the audience, like an actor, is going to respond with something that the character played by Adam Driver is going to be talking about. So it's going to be a call and response thing at only a handful of screenings in Los Angeles. But seeing that just reminds me so much of shows that you see at like Universal or Disney, where it's very much just a cast member or one of the Muppet performers talking to another Muppet performer. It's going to be like a theme park ride. And I can't wait.
I love it. Okay, because I saw that on my feed, and you weren't the only one who made that reference. So I was like, oh my God, I want to know what this is about. Kaycee, you had an addendum to that.
I was going to add on, it's kind of something they've been like talking about, like, oh, this is revolutionary. This has never been done in cinema, but it is basically a 4D show. And not every screen in Megalopolis is going to do this. Like, I think most of them are just going to, play the Adam Driver clip, and then someone off camera, like diegetically within the movie, is going to say the response. But we got tickets to a screening that we're going to where there'll be a real person talking to Adam Driver, and then Adam Driver is going to come out of the wings of the theater and he's going to come around and give all of us a little kiss on the head. That's what
I love that.
We are going to go to one of the screens where there will be a real person there. There aren't a lot of them, I think, happening. So if you do get a chance to go, I think it's worth it just for this sort of, not once in a lifetime. I'm sure someone else will do this one day, but it is a very unique experience.
That's very exciting. No, I definitely think there's going to be a trend where like people who go to this screening might go again so that they can be the one who yells it. I don't know, like, or people will look up the word and try to like be their own version of it. In the ones that don't have it prepared already, like the one you're going to go to. I feel like maybe that's going to be the new hotness to do, since people have A-lists so frequently out in this area.
Yeah, I saw a great tweet that was like, the person who talks to Adam Driver should just be picked from the audience, like the dreamer girl in Trap. Like every screen should just pluck somebody out of the audience to go down.
This is going to be your line. Say it at this part of the movie. We're going to have an attendant help you to the front of the screen.
Yeah, and then do a little dance.
Oh my God. I low-key loved Trap. What a wild movie.
It was a fun time. So good.
It's in my top 5 for the year. I think it was on so many levels.
Yes. In terms of the House of Villains, do you want to talk about like sorry, I had no transition there. But in terms, do you want to talk about each of the short vignettes, and then we can do the overall arc of the story at the end and discuss some miscellaneous topics?
Heck yeah, absolutely.
All right. So the first one, you mentioned it earlier, is Trick or Treat, which incorporates Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Donald Duck being a trash uncle, and
Oh,
Hazel the Witch. So, had you seen this one outside of the House of Villains property before, or was this a repeat just because of the House of Villains?
it's a repeat because of the House of Villains, and it's interesting because it's very hard to find House of Villains, like to rent it or to buy it. And we watched a version on YouTube where they had a lot of the shorts cut out.
Oh no! I
And
was
I
gonna.
remember we had to look up. I looked up a list of the shorts online, and we were able to like cherry pick from like Disney Plus and other websites to like stitch it together. But Trick or Treat is solid. It really puts you in the Halloween mood. Loved it.
What's the point of Disney Plus if they don't just have things like House of Villains on
Yeah,
there? Like,
right.
if
I
it's
want to
no
know what
one,
the reasoning is. Also,
Mhm.
yeah,
like,
it's just really weird.
is it because of all the different characters they don't have the rights? But it's like Disney; you can afford the
Yeah.
rights.
Well,
Exactly.
are there any characters that aren't Disney?
No, I mean you got Sister Hazel. She's the witch. And she didn't appear in a lot of other shorts afterwards, which is funny because Warner Brothers, the Looney Tunes, also have their own Sister Hazel character. You know that the witch that's green and she has like the big blue outfit and she laughs and
Yes.
cackles. They're played by the same actress. Her name is June Foray, and it's interesting
Wow.
because like the witch in Trick or Treat, the Huey, Dewey, and Louie short came 3 years before the Looney Tunes one, and they're very different. This witch is very nice. She sees that Donald is being a jerk to his nephews, and she's like, "All right, kids, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna help you get your candy back, and we're gonna get back at your uncle."
It is a fun thing because there aren't a lot of movies out there that are just cautionary tales for uncles. You don't get a lot of like uncle specific warnings. Like in general, you could say this is for anybody. Like, don't take candy from children, but I think it's specifically the uncle nephew relationship
Mhm.
that it brings to it.
But what did you think of Trick or Treat?
I had a good time. I was a big fan of Sister Hazel. My mind is blown. I need to look this up later about the Warner Brothers one because that, like, I feel like I recognize the witch. Does Freddy have a pin with the witch?
Ooh, I think he may. I think he may. He's
Okay.
definitely. I've seen his interpretation of the character Witch Hazel before.
But she definitely looks more familiar than this witch. That said, I had a great time. I was really frustrated with Donald Duck because I'm like, you know what? Sometimes maybe you do deserve what's coming to you based on the way you are being so mean to your nephews. And I don't know. I had a good time. You said it perfectly. It gets you excited for like the Halloween spirit, which I think the opener needs to have for something that's themed around villain and spooky. It was a very fun short, and also I am kicking myself because I should have done the method that you chose to watch this. I ended up buying it on Apple for $18.
That's crazy. That's
We were
crazy that you can't
close.
even rent it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to buy the whole thing.
Next time,
Yeah.
I need to look into that before I'm like, let's watch this. But you know what? No regrets. You
No
can't. You
regrets.
got to push forward. This was fun to rewatch. And listen, next year I don't have to buy it. I own it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you get that good song too in it. Trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat for Halloween.
What are your favorite candies for Halloween season or throughout?
I love a midnight Milky Way. Milky Way midnight, maybe. Those are delicious.
I love a Reese's peanut butter cup in the shape of a pumpkin.
Yes. No. Why not?
I'm very anti Reese's peanut butter cups in any shape other than a cup. I think the chocolate to peanut butter ratio is always going to be off. Like the pumpkins, the eggs, they have too much peanut butter, not enough chocolate.
Love it.
The cup is how it's meant to be. Anything else isn't right. No trees, no eggs, no pumpkins, no ghosts.
At least the pumpkin and the egg look the most like their respective shapes. The tree, what are we doing here? It's like a lumpy mess.
I think the tree looks like a tree. It just doesn't taste good.
What about you, Felipe? Halloween treat of preference?
I'm a big Butterfingers guy. I love Butterfingers, except when it gets in your teeth at the end.
Yeah.
But I also do appreciate peanut butter cup. I'm more of a chocolatey guy. I'm not so much a sour candy person.
Same,
Like
yeah.
you can miss me with the Smarties or the Mike and Ike's. Just give me all the chocolate.
I respect that. That's a good attitude. That's a good opinion.
What have you thought of all the scene where Donald Duck has to run into the door and he like apparently runs 2 miles to the other direction? Like, how would you feel if your feet were hexed by an evil witch?
I probably wouldn't like it. I love how the further he gets, and then when he's coming back towards the house, how like you can see him screaming. Like, I don't know if he can feel it in his legs, but he definitely feels the wind in his face coming in. Probably be terrible.
Donald in general is a character I have like a love-hate relationship with. Have you ever played Disney Dreamlight Valley, Felipe?
Is that the equivalent of Animal Crossing but with Disney characters?
Yes. It's Animal Crossing with Disney characters, and I mean the whole game is so funny because it's so serious. Like parts of it are so serious. Like basically you're going to this valley, right? And you're not just like building a house and building houses for the characters. You're also they all have amnesia. They all have gone through something called the forgetting, and you're helping them get their memories back. It's really wild. Also, people just disappeared. Like Minnie is just gone. But Donald Duck's character introduction is so funny because first you meet Kristoff from Frozen, and you're like, oh my gosh, hey Kristoff. And he's like, you gotta help me get Donald back. We were out in the woods together, and then we got separated. And then you finally find Donald, and he's like, where's Kristoff? Let me at him. He just abandoned me in the woods. And then that's such a fun character introduction. But then throughout the rest of the game, he's so annoying. He's not like always up in your business, but when he is, he's just throwing a tantrum over nothing.
Very
like,
whiny.
Gosh, he's so whiny. Like, I don't know how
Daisy can put up with him.
How Daisy can put up with it, how his friends can put up with him. He's toxic. He's a toxic person.
You heard it here him in this movie?
What?
Didn't Daisy roast him at one point in the movie?
Oh yes, yeah, we're like immediately because within the club House of Mouse, he's dressing up like a devil for Halloween or like a demon, classic Pitchfork. And
I'm so scary.
Daisy's like, "Oh, you be scary, Don. Get real." She doesn't say that, but that's the attitude that she gets.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Donald's always complaining about something. Who do you prefer though? Daffy or Donald?
Why are all these ducks so annoying?
I like Daffy because at least he's a little bit more coherent. I'm not a big. Whoa. Everything okay?
My mic is messed up right now.
Oh, okay. I thought that was on our end.
Yeah, it was
literally when we start talking about Donald Duck's voice, that's whenever it starts crackling up.
See, I was going to cut that from the podcast, but I think because of the joke, I think that shit is necessary because that was actually really funny.
At least I can understand what Daffy's saying, I guess.
Yeah, I think I prefer Daffy over Donald. Mm-hmm. Donald's cuter than Daffy, though. He's got a little sailor outfit on.
Mm-hmm.
Donald has a pretty good aesthetic.
Yeah,
he just had his birthday, like his big birthday celebration. Mm-hmm. And Box Lunch had this big display in this. I don't know if at every store, but the one we go to had this big Donald Duck display, and it was so cute and like Instagrammable. Little do they know, there's an evil duck behind this aesthetic.
I think live action Donald or like Park Donald is so fun because when they put on the shows, Donald will get upset about something, but like he looks so cute when he's doing it. He's so happy because the face doesn't emote. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's so different than like cartoon Donald.
Are you a big character person when you go to the Disney parks, Felipe?
I love like interacting with them. When I was a kid, absolutely. Like I needed an autograph from everybody, and I would
Yes.
get sad when it was a character who didn't do autographs, like King Louie.
Yeah.
And but I feel like if I'm in a group setting, like when I went with a couple of our friends, I forget who it was, but someone wanted a photo. And I was like, okay, if we're all getting photos, I'm gonna get a photo. But I haven't like stopped unless it's like a character I've never interacted with before. Then I feel like they that's interesting. What about you all?
I never went to Disneyland or any theme park until I was an adult, so felt a little awkward at that point. But to be interacting with characters, I will say though, getting a photograph with Winnie the Pooh, that really was a very nice moment. He gave me a hug. Oh,
I think
that was nice.
It has to be like a character that you resonate with.
Yeah, it's really got to be someone you love.
I'm incredibly biased because I worked a lot for the mouse, and I worked with many of the characters during the Disney College program in 2016. So I used to be a character performer there. So I appreciate it as an art form, getting to interact and like play and have a conversation with somebody. It's very, very expressive, and I like how character attendants also the backbone of most of the parks who have to piece together like, oh yeah, oh Chip, oh he's very excited for the show tonight. Yes. Oh yeah.
One of my favorite character interactions was when we went to Universal very early into us dating. It was two of us and then two of our friends, and then he sees Alex the lion
from Madagascar.
Oh my gosh.
Walk out, and then Zach sees him and he's just like, King of New York, and nothing, no acknowledgement. the Alex the lion doesn't even look at him.
I screamed it so loud.
And I'm like, yikes.
My God. The Universal here, I forget when it was, but Donkey had a joke that literally had me on the floor. It was, why did the toilet paper cross the road?
Why did the toilet paper cross the road?
It was looking for a crack. And Donkey, I was like, that lives rent free in my head because I just did not expect that. For whatever reason, I was not expecting that joke from Donkey. DreamWorks, some really funny characters, and I'm sorry that Alex the Lion,
he stiffed me. He stiffed me. He ignored me.
It was an iconic moment though for us. Like I'll never forget it.
And she's still dating me, and you know what? That's incredible.
Yeah.
She stuck by me even at my lowest points.
Even after he was ignored by a man in a lion costume.
Or a woman. We don't know.
Or a woman.
Have you all ever listened to the Keys of the Kingdom podcast series?
A handful of times.
Okay. Yes. Because I feel like Zach, at least, I was like, oh, if you haven't, you should definitely get on it because I think you'd appreciate it. Did you ever read The Kingdom Keepers?
No. Oh, I knew so many people who loved it. Have you ever heard of these, Kaycee?
The books where all these kids are in Disney World or Land.
Things come to life at night.
Yes. I think I read the first one, actually. It's ringing some bells.
Feel like something that would be up your younger Kaycee alley.
This guy doesn't read.
I can't read. I never learned how.
Leah Michelle felt seen.
Exactly. I'll read a handful of books every now and then, but I'm not a very big reader.
I'm trying to get better at it because when I was a kid, I was more of a reader, but I would go in phases. Like I would get really into books and then like go back to the TV pretty quickly. But I'm trying to, I set a goal to read 6 books this year, and I'm halfway between 2, and I'm not even counting the audiobook that I added in there, but it's hard. I don't have the attention span, but I did hear you were reading in your vacations, right?
Yeah, I did. I read some books while we were on vacation because we just went to a resort or by the pool.
Yes. And you read as well, right, Zach?
I started reading, but it was too depressing, and I was like, I'm gonna go back on my phone.
Forgot about that. Yeah, no, we don't want a depressing vibe on vacation. one last thing, and then I'll go to the next vignette. But so like I said, I went to Letterboxd afterwards. One of my favorite comments was, "Is Piglet the antagonist of the Winnie the Pooh series? Because it's all the villains that walk in and Piglet."
Yeah. Oh man, he's just lost.
He can't be evil.
He can be friends with anybody, you know.
Does the Winnie the Pooh franchise have a villain?
I would say Gopher is as close as you can get. He's the scrappy do of Winnie the Pooh for sure. I was actually talking about this with one of our coworkers the other day, and we watched some clips. Like, Gopher just does not fit the vibes of the 100 Acre Wood. Everyone's pretty calm, happy. Like, Rabbit's the most kind of cantankerous person, but even he's sort of like fitting the vibes of the place. But Gopher, wrong energy.
He's just there to cause trouble, mess with like the dirts of the 100 Acre Wood, ruin Rabbit's crops. Yeah, he's always causing just a lot of strife.
Yeah, maybe not a straight up villain, but
annoying, which is worse in some ways.
Yeah, I haven't thought about Gopher in years, honestly.
He never leaves my mind.
He's none of the core cast of Winnie the Pooh. He's like the first of the middle layer, I feel like.
Yeah, he came in with the new TV show, the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, because you had like a great show. Because in the 60s you had the Winnie the Pooh shorts, and then they got so popular. They were very consistently popular, but then you got the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. You also had the Book of Pooh, which I loved as a kid.
How do we feel about Cassie?
Oh, Cassie! Oh, the little blue bird! I loved her.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this. I don't remember.
Do you dislike the bird?
No, she's just kind of like on that B tier with Gopher. I felt like nobody really talks about Cassie. I did think it was kind of iconic that it would literally jump into the book.
Yeah. I like that one a lot. And then I feel like there's also a string in the 2000s where they just started cranking out Winnie the Pooh movies like for no reason, because you had the Tigger movie, the Piglet movie, the Heffalump movie. Like,
Piglet's big movie slaps.
Piglet's big movie, very good.
I saw was it the 2011 Winnie the Pooh, 2010?
Yeah, 2011.
Oh, how was that?
In theaters. It was great. My mom and I were the only people in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
It feel like that sometimes.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. But it's a really funny movie. That movie's really funny. Like, it has this very long gag where they are in a big hole and they have to get out. And someone needs to tie knots on a rope to get them out. And it's this very long gag where they're like, I cannot not, you know, and they're all so confused.
There's a lot of wordplay.
Yeah, it's a lot of wordplay. Real classic bit right there. Great scene.
Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin was also a sleeper hit as well. I watched it on an airplane and I had a great time.
I love Christopher Robin.
Christopher Robin is a crazy movie because for the first, I'd say 2/3 of it is very odd and kind of like emotionally draining and like upsetting and a little horrifying. And then it's almost like a Disney executive walked in and was like, what are you making? And then in the third act, they turn it back around to exactly what you think it's supposed to be.
It's like the director is going for like Sundance or Cannes. And he's like, I'm going to enter this indie drama.
It came out the same year as Hereditary, and I remember describing it as the Hereditary of live action Disney movies, because whereas Hereditary is like constantly ratcheting up the tension of everything, Christopher Robin is like just ratcheting up the emotion every single scene. Like when they're in the woods and it's just him and Pooh,
like an intimate moment,
and it's like the sky is gray, and he's like, Chris Robin says, I haven't really thought about all of you guys like in the last few years. And then the Pooh's just like, I've thought about you every day. It's just, what? Why? And then it's just and then like lightning strikes, and then he turns around and Pooh's gone, and it's thundering, and there's rain coming down, and then it's scary. It's like, what just happened? He disappeared. Really a very strange film that I did like, but oh man, they went in a very odd direction with that one.
Yeah. Oh man.
I do remember I cried on that plane. I feel like plane movies can be such a gamble sometimes because you don't know what emotion you're gonna feel. I remember there was this one with Billy Crystal where he plays some grandparents and he goes and like babysits his grandkids. And
Parental
one of the
Guidance.
kids, which one?
I think it's called Parental Guidance because Bette Midler's in
Yes.
it, right?
Yes, and they're married.
Yes.
And yeah, there's just like an imaginary friend subplot that just like wrecked me in that movie. So yeah, going on a plane is always I feel like the plane movies are best to be something you know what you're gonna expect, like a rewatch type of movie.
Plane movies need to be like their own category.
Yeah.
Where it's just like entertaining enough that, you know, time flies. I prefer no like intense romance scenes because that's just awkward. Like you're like watching it and it's like, whoa, sorry, person next to me. I didn't know this was coming up. I promise. I'm not a weirdo. I watched a movie, The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Society on a plane. That was a great plane movie. Very British. You got Lily James. You got Glenn Powell is there. You got the girl who plays Jen and the IT crowd. Just very British. Multiple people from Downton Abbey. Very, very. That's a perfect plane movie. If anyone's looking for one.
I think the thing about a plane movie is that you're at a very vulnerable point as a viewer where your screen is able to be seen by a handful of other people. So you're already taking that gamble. And then you're flying in a plane, which, you know, statistically you're safer in the air than you are on the ground, but there's always that chance that something could happen. So you could be more emotional, like you're trying to distract yourself from the intensity a plane could have. I get kind of nervous on planes, so I'm always trying to watch something comforting. Like I'll watch something low key. Like that's whenever I'll put on like a Kung Fu Panda or a nice wholesome cartoon while I'm on a plane.
Also watched Divergent on one of my most recent trips on the plane.
That's a good plane movie.
That was a good one.
It's like those movies that are kind of not worth your time to watch in any other setting.
Exactly.
Even if they're good, like The Post. I watched The Post on a plane. That's a good movie, but I don't really feel the drive to watch it anywhere else. It also needs to be like not artistically dynamic enough that you feel like, oh, I need to be watching this on a bigger screen. Like it needs to be kind of like artistically dull enough that's like, I'm okay watching this on an iPad or on my phone or on a little screen on the back of a chair.
Exactly.
It can't be something that's like, gosh, this
like the
cinematography.
Shawshank Redemption or like the Fablemans.
Yeah, I think the Fablemans you could watch on a plane. I think you'd be missing out on part of it, like some of the more interesting parts of it. But
2001 or Lawrence of Arabia.
Maybe Blade Runner 2049. Gosh, there's another big one coming to mind, but anyway.
I forget who was telling me that they were watching White Lotus on a plane, and then they had to turn that off. Yeah. So, and I remember when I was like in middle school, I like started forgetting Sarah Marshall because like I had heard people talking.
Oh no!
And in the first 10 minutes, I was like, I'm gonna go watch this at home.
Yeah, like I mean, because people will now they'll take pictures of you if they catch you doing stuff like that on the internet.
Exactly.
Like I just saw a tweet like a week or two ago of someone taking a photo of someone who's kitty cornered to them on the plane, and that person's watching Challengers. It's just the scene where the two guys are making out.
I was literally thinking, like, would I watch Challengers on a plane? Is that like my line? Like, or do I have to scale it back a little bit further? Because, people just have time to sit and judge you on a plane. There's nowhere to go.
It's just like I feel like Challengers is just slightly over the line.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Like The Substance. You can't watch The Substance on a plane.
I can't watch The Substance on a plane.
I feel like Downton Abbey. I feel like that's something. I usually watch sitcoms. I feel like sitcoms, like Friends, they have that on a plane. Full House sometimes. I think I binge watched Fuller House one season. It dropped while I was traveling to Brazil, so I just downloaded all the episodes the night before. Yeah, what a time. Should we go to speaking of house? Should we go back to the House of Mouse?
Yes, we should.
Mickey's Mechanical House is the next one, which you likened it to Smart House. I feel like somewhere in the back of my mind, I might have remembered this one, or if there was one similar to it. John Cleese is the narrator, which
That was
we
a
love.
surprise. Yeah, I
Um,
didn't expect to hear his voice.
yeah, maybe it was reminiscent. I think in the Christmas one, they have a narrator on the Nutcracker, right?
Yes.
And that was what
Yes,
it was
he is.
reminiscent of. But this was really fun. I kind of wish it was longer.
There
Is
is
it
a
tr-
lot you could work with. Yeah.
I was gonna say it was Zach's least favorite.
Because
Oh,
it doesn't
wow.
feel like it's another one I feel this way towards is like it doesn't feel very scary or spooky. It doesn't have that
Valid.
Halloween flavor to it. So that seems like something that you could have just put on the House of Mouse on its regular broadcast and it wouldn't feel any different. I don't think it should have been there.
It's about the horrors of home ownership, Zachary. You have to fix everything yourself or call someone to fix it.
Well, he doesn't fix anything. He just breaks everything.
But in his original home,
Oh,
the shutters
yes,
are
I see.
creaky and the pipes are leaky.
And
but he's
the
like,
floor's a little bit slanted.
yeah, instead of just dealing with it, he's like, I'm gonna go buy a new house. Since in this one he has so much disposable income. But in the other sketch, he doesn't have any money to spend on his girl, Minnie.
Yeah.
The band one.
Yeah. They're blending in. They're blending in. We watched them too close to each other, but
that's why it was banned. He was being a bad boyfriend.
he was, which is the worst crime.
You know when he's a good boyfriend? Disney Dreamlight Valley. Minnie is just gone. She disappeared in Dreamlight Valley, and you go up to Mickey and do anything. You're like, oh, looks like Mickey wants an apple pie today. Here's your apple pie, Mickey. And he's like, oh gosh, thank you. I love picnics. Used to go on picnics with Minnie, but then she disappeared because of the forgetting. Sucked her away. I keep seeing her ghost around the valley. Do you see her?
But what did you think of the short?
Yeah,
I had a great time. I was really wanting one of those chairs that like goes through the water and then like slides you right into bed and tucks you in,
like a car wash.
Yes, that was like very fun and goofy, even though he wasn't in this one. But you can't ever have a smart house because, as we learned, Pat will turn into the villain.
Exactly.
There's also a lot of rhyming in this sketch.
I like that element of it.
They said, "Oh, it's a sketch about a house, and it's starring Mickey Mouse." I know what we're gonna do.
I like the rhyming. It was giving Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
And I think we like that. It's also probably the first time in hindsight where I ever learned of the word escrow. But yeah, what a fun time. So it was your least favorite, Zach, though?
Out of all of them, just on a video called Mickey's House of Villains, it does have a house and it does have a villain, but it doesn't feel Halloween-y. And for that criteria, out of all of them, I'm giving it a 5 out of 10, which is, it's fine. If it's a House of Mouse 7, but a House of Villains 5 for me.
Valid. The oven kind of gave first draft pile of Brave Little Toaster character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was just doing his job.
Yeah, I think
that
Mickey
oven was
gave
doing
up
everything.
too fast with the smart house.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey should have tried to program it the way he wants it to. I'm sure there's a button that's you press it to be like, hey, I don't want my robot overlord to tell me when to go to bed. I just want my robot to be normal.
The irony, because I thought he wanted to move away because he wasn't getting good sleep at the original location.
That's true, yeah.
Now he has a bedtime and so little noise that you would think he would want to sleep.
There's some symbolism here somewhere.
Yeah, he's somehow incredibly grown up in this cartoon. He's purchasing a house.
Yeah.
He's also such a child. The dichotomy of Mickey.
This would have felt really suited for like Donald Duck, but of course we got to get some Mickey shorts in here.
You know what? Yes. That's a good point. This one did feel more like a Donald Duck situation for this specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Somehow Donald also owns a home. What's his job?
He's a sailor.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, then
My
why
dad
isn't he ever out at sea?
He's on sabbatical.
But they couldn't rhyme duck with house.
That's true.
What would it have been? Duck on a truck?
Duck who is stuck.
Yeah, this duck is
Yeah,
stuck.
duck with duck. Speaking of houses, the next one is How to Haunt a House, which so goofy, literally.
So Goofy. Classic Goofy. And Goofy is no stranger to the How To series. It's a popular short setup for Goofy, where the narrator just gives him a job and he mucks it up in all the Goofy ways. And this was one of my favorites, How to Haunt a House. I loved it.
Goofy's also not a stranger to being a ghost, as we've seen in Mickey's Christmas Carol.
That's true. Yeah, he even dresses up like Jacob Marley in whenever he's like passing by trying to wake up Donald or like make noises. He has like the chains and everything.
He does. Kaycee, how did you feel about this one?
Yeah, I thought this one was fine. I think it suited the vibes of, a Halloween special at least. I agree with Zach. The house one wasn't very Halloween-y, but it was still fun. I don't know. This one at least dealt with ghosts.
Exactly.
The classic symbol of Halloween.
Mm-hmm. What did you think, Felipe?
I had a good time. I definitely think it's on the lower side of my rankings if I were to have to rank them. But I think these were all a good time. This one is just like not as memorable to me compared to some of the other ones, but it does feel more Halloweeny than the Mechanical House one for sure. This one was more of like a comedy.
Yes.
Like versus like some of them are comedies with elements of kind of like jump scares for sure or adventure, and this one was just like pure comedy. It's very people order our patties episode of SpongeBob.
Yes, it is. Yeah. The other thing I loved about this short is the fact that it's one of the only ones that was animated in Florida, because
Ooh.
a lot of these classic Mickey Mouse works that would end up being shown on House of Mouse were animated in the Philippines, and I think they had a bit of they had to have a tight budget on it where they couldn't be splurging on all these shorts. But for whatever reason, the How to Haunt a House was animated in the same animation department that was used for Mulan, Brother Bear, and Lilo and Stitch. So it looks a lot more fluid and it has a lot of personality with it moves. I think when you rewatch it, you'll notice that there's just a film-like quality to it where there's a lot of care with how the characters move and stuff. And I like that aspect about it. I think this is probably the best looking of the newer shorts because it's a mix of the old shorts and the new shorts. And this one, incredible movement on a lot of the characters.
Yes, I didn't know that. Thank you for adding that perspective. That's so cool. Yeah, I didn't even know that they did a ton of in-house animation for like the shorts in Florida. So that's really cool to learn.
Did you think one of the other shorts we watched was done in Australia?
I fact checked that. That was for the Runaway Railway. Turned out it was France.
France. Interesting.
Fairy one?
No. The Runaway Brain. The one that was banned.
Oh, okay.
It does have like a gothic aesthetic to it. France makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is the next one the Lonesome Ghosts?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This one was giving. I mean, they were reminiscent of the Boo Brothers from Scooby-Doo to me.
Yes.
And we had 4 ghosts that call ghost exterminators Mickey, Donald, and Goofy to come prove what they're made of, I guess. And this one I think was the longest one, at me closest to 10 minutes. Because when I was watching this, I was like, okay, let me just kind of see how long everyone was. And after every short, I would look at the time. And this one, I think, was like 10-ish minutes. Maybe not that much, but there was a lot of shenanigans they got up to.
I like this one a lot. I like these 4 ghost characters who are just bored and looking to cause some trouble because no one's coming into the haunted house anymore. So they call basically Donald, Goofy, and Mickey, who play essentially Ghostbusters in a way. There's even a line where like Goofy says something like, I'm not scared of no ghost," which is super similar. They actually played this short one time when I went to the New Beverly Cinema. They have a lot of cartoons that usually precede the movie, and they showed this one during a Halloween month. I think I went to go see Casper with Christina Ricci, and they played this short. So I love this classic, good ghost Halloween Disney short.
I am looking it up right now. This is the earliest one with Walt Disney himself voicing Mickey here. Is this one of the ones you found on Disney Plus?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It definitely had like an older look to it.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that the House of Mouse was just sort of an excuse to play old cartoons.
Yeah.
I think they did that a lot,
where
they just sort of found excuses to play old shorts.
It's a great way to educate the youth.
It is, yeah. I don't know if they do that anymore.
I
don't think, not to my knowledge.
Especially in a way that incorporates it into the story. Like you could just have like a small filler storyline for an episode of House of Mouse, and then you can just rely on like shorts to fill the rest of your time.
Yeah.
Don't have to do too much new animation. I had a VHS video. I don't know what it was called, but it was just a collection of Mickey Mouse cartoons that I watched a lot as a kid. So I had seen the Steamboat Willie, watched that a lot. I had seen the what is it called? The Magician's Apprentice?
The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
The Sorcerer's Apprentice. I'd seen that a million times. It was just all like Mickey stuff all cut together. Yeah, does the youth have that anymore?
The only thing that you can have that's equal to that is Disney Plus does have like a shorts category, and that's how it's mixed in with a lot of the Pixar stuff, and
they gotta put these shorts on TikTok.
They do, yeah. Do you remember? Speaking of that, do you remember that short era? You might remember this, Felipe, on Disney Channel, where they would call like either Kablam or Remix, where they would have like old Disney shorts and they would be lip syncing to contemporary songs. Like they did one of like Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars, and it's lip sync to like Mickey as he's fawning over Minnie.
No, I'm looking this up right now.
I don't remember this at all.
Oh, maybe this aired. I remember because I would stay up like a little night owl as a child, and I think that's how I saw them. What was that?
It was called Kablam.
One was called Kablam, and then the other one was called Remix, but the MIX would be transformed into MICKS.
Oh, because Mickey.
Because Mickey, yeah.
I don't remember this. It's wild. The first one that pops up is Just the Way You Are.
This is a hallucination Zack had.
No,
at 1 a.m. as a child.
Because Minnie would also sing like He Could Be the One too by Anna Montana.
This, I need to look into this. Like I have some deep cuts from the Disney Channel days, like Mater's Tall Tales.
Oh man, classic.
Pass the Plate, of course.
Do you remember when the movie? What was it called? The magician one, the Disney Channel one. Now You See It.
Now You See It. Yes.
Do you remember when they would have like in commercial breaks an actual magician just doing tricks?
They would teach you how to do tricks.
Well,
yeah.
No, he wouldn't be teaching you how to do tricks. He would just do a trick. He'd be like, "Okay, pick a card," and it'd be like the Ace of Spades or whatever, and then he'd flip through them, and he'd be like, "And here's your card." And like, "Whoa, this is through the TV. How's he doing this? This is crazy."
Wild. Kids these days will never experience the joy of commercials. Sometimes when I don't know what to watch, I will just put on Pluto TV just because I want some of those, like the Nickelodeon channel. Like I want the feel. That's something that I really appreciated. The WandaVision 90s episode is the one with the like claymation commercial. I was like, oh my God, this feels so real to my experience. Commercials were so fun and underrated, and like the interstitials as well. Like that's where Demi Lovato got her start, and Saved by the Bell, or
as the bell rings.
As the bell rings, yes. Sorry, not Saved by the Bell. Very different thing.
It's interesting because I never really thought of Disney Channel as having commercials. They did, obviously. They had ad breaks, but it was all for other Disney things.
It was all in-house.
It was all in-house, so it never registered to me as like real commercials. Because I was also watching CSI and NCIS with my mom every night. Every night it was on. So I was seeing real ads.
It's not like you were getting ads for like a Nissan or like Cheetos on Disney Channel.
Yes, or like Windex. You know, I guess you get those ads on Nickelodeon too.
Yeah.
Like they were much less.
Nick at Night had some ads that I saw one on like the Nostalgia account on Twitter. That was like the Love Ballads CD.
Oh my god!
And it was just like all part 1 and 2, and I was like, oh my god, this is like a repressed memory that I didn't have. Of course, Sarah McLachlan, Arms of an Angel. Like Nick at Night had some sad commercials.
Oh my god!
I hope you dance. I always remember those collections of songs.
In the arms of the angel. Oh, terrible.
They still play those. They still play those. Is it ASPCA ads with that song playing? It is crazy.
Poor dog.
She's still fighting that fight and letting them use her music.
Like, why isn't the cameraman doing anything about this? They're just filming this off. It's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
There was also like those Chia Pets. That was another one that I remember playing all the time. And I always wanted a Chia Pet.
You can still get them.
I could. I don't really want them anymore. Like I don't have a desire for them like I used to. There was like also Floam and so many commercials. Like on Nickelodeon, I feel like is where the fun commercials were. Always like snacks and cereals and candy and baby bottle pops.
Toys.
It was an art form. It was definitely an art form back whenever TV could get like audiences seeing it, and now they have to rely on things like skipping ads on YouTube or something like that.
We have a great story about ads. This is someone I'll just tell a story. So one time, Zach and I went to Shake Shack in Burbank. We were going to go see a movie at the Burbank 16 or whatever. So we're getting dinner beforehand. And this father comes in with his very young daughter. Like she's probably like 2 or 3, able to talk, but, not super well. And then he's just sitting there. And then the daughter's like, why are you upset, Daddy? Or something like that. And he's like, well, there are TVs in here, and it's just hard for Daddy to talk to you when there are TVs. And then the girl's like, well, I like TV. And he's like, yeah, but these TVs are just playing ads. You know what we say when we watch YouTube, right? When we watch videos, we say, boo ads, boo ads, right? And I think about that man all the time. Whenever I see an ad, I say, boo ads, boo ads. He truly lives in my mind rent free. Real girl dad.
I love that. Now I'm gonna start saying that too.
Oh man, anti-consumerist. Training his daughter to be an anti-consumer,
anti-capitalist. I will say YouTube ads are some of the worst ads out there.
They really are.
Like also, I see Instagram ads and they're always for things I want. Like Instagram knows what I want and I will buy things via Instagram ads. Like it's bad. They know me too well. But YouTube, it's like serving me ads for Viagra and people running for the Senate in states I don't live.
Yeah.
And just crazy things.
I get a ton of dog food ads. I don't have a dog.
I'll get served. For a while, I was always getting those mud water ads. Did anyone else get those?
No.
It was basically like a 5-minute ad. And one time I watched it all the way through because it was just this guy being like, yeah, I was tired of my caffeine addiction, so I decided to make this new thing called mud water. And it's like mushrooms blended into a powder and all these other ingredients they're good for you, and you can turn it into a hot drink. It's just like drinking coffee, but it's better for you, blah, blah. And I never thought anything about it because I didn't want that. It looked disgusting. And then I saw someone at work drinking it. I was like, is it good? And he's like, I drink it. I'm like, it looks gross. I've never seen it in real life. I'd only seen it in this crazy YouTube ad.
Yeah. I'm so curious. I'm trying to my mind is running, but we won't focus on that. I want to, That sounds gross. What is it? So it's like mushrooms?
It
mixed
definitely
with
has
powder?
mushrooms in it. It's like a lot of stuff blended together, but the mushrooms always stood out to me.
Well, because I
Like,
know
I don't want
Alfred's has some drinks that like incorporate mushrooms. Uh, like because sometimes for an early shift, I'll stop at the Alfred's, and they like I will order it online before I leave my apartment. It's like, what is this mushroom drink? No, thank you. But I guess if that's what you enjoy, more
It
power to
probably
you.
is very good for you. It just
Mhm.
did not look appetizing. And the other thing about it is I only knew about it from this one
From
YouTube
YouTube.
ad. Sometimes you see products in ads, and then you see YouTubers talking about them. You see influencers on Instagram or TikTok promoting them. I never saw Mudwater outside of this one singular YouTube ad, except in person at work. I've never seen it anywhere else, and that's when I'm the most suspicious of things, is if it doesn't have any reach.
I can understand that. In terms of the next sketch, did y'all remember this one? Because I feel like I remember something similar, but not exactly this one. What was that music? That wasn't like the March of the Sugar Plum Fairy, right? That's a
It was, yeah.
Christmas one. It was okay. I was like, why does this sound so familiar? This is a
Mhm.
Halloween one.
This is the one where it's a lot of goofy fairies, and they're basically helping flowers bloom, and it's all to the tune of the Sugar Plum Fairies. There's a king fairy, and the main little goofy fairy that we follow is this one that's late for work, and he's a bit of a screw up, like the main goofy, and he doesn't seem that well respected at work. But it isn't until the kid who lives in the nearby house, who's kind of like a Sid type kid, where he just wants to dissect the fairies like they're butterflies or grasshoppers, and it's all done to music, so it's very Fantasia like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought Goofy was playing the fairies, but then it cuts back to the House of Villains, and there's the fairy at the table.
Yeah.
So it's just some fairy who looks just like Goofy.
I thought the same thing. I also liked because also we start with the callback where Goofy's like, at least I don't have to wear a yellow leotard or something.
Yeah, that's
And
true. Yeah, that's so
so I was
weird.
like,
Yeah.
but I had a good time with this one. The
Yeah.
child was creepy though. He definitely gives the energy where he does the Sid from Toy Story where he puts the the microscope or the magnifying glass on like bugs just for fun in the heat.
Yeah, for sure. Like a little sadist kid.
Yeah. But this was such a delight. Did it lose points for you, Zach, because it wasn't Halloweeny?
Yes, this one is the other one that I felt didn't fit the vibe of Halloween at all. You were right. This fit more like, because I think it's the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies, maybe, that it would be, you could see this in Christmas and it wouldn't be different at all.
Yeah.
But the music is so nice that I still enjoyed it. A 6 out of 10 for me.
He's saying this now, but when we were watching it, he's like, I love how we're getting all these shorts that don't have any dialogue, just music.
Yeah, I did say that.
No consistency from this guy. I keep trying to do like thumb things,
and it's
then
blocked by the microphone.
Is right in the way, so I keep doing and then also it's like backwards where I'm like looking at myself and I'm like, oh, okay, I need to move more into frame, but then I'm like, I end up moving the opposite direction.
It's a podcast. They could be listening to this now and they're confused.
There's a video component. Okay, podcast listeners, picture this. I think I'm moving right, but I'm really moving left.
Whoa!
That's the real
weird.
No, in terms of the music, like the only other one that I was like, this is Sugar Plum Fairy, or is it the Bald Mountain? But that's the one that Chernobog's in, right?
Yeah.
Bald Mountain is scary.
That one should have been in here if we're doing that.
Yeah, that's a good Halloween one. And then he makes an appearance.
Yeah. Multiple times. He's got multiple lines in this.
Because he's a scary guy.
He's got the hots for Maleficent Dragon.
Of course. Who wouldn't?
Whomst among us.
Whomst among us. I love Maleficent. One of the best villains out there.
Not enough use in this one. She doesn't get a lot to work with other than turning into a dragon.
They give too many villains sympathetic motivations these days.
She you know what? She was happy to be there because she was invited. That makes sense.
Yeah. Some people just need to be evil.
Petty queen. She was like, y'all didn't invite me to this birthday party. I am gonna make you pay.
I'm gonna curse this child.
And then I'm gonna kill her when she turns 16.
Yeah, that Disney villains, wild.
Mm-hmm.
They're all like all the classic ones have some wild motivations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The evil queen hates that someone might be prettier than her.
Cruella de Vil wants to get the fur off of puppies so she can make a coat.
A wicked stepmother is just, I mean, she's just bitter. She kind of has not sympathetic motivations, but you can see.
I understand where she's coming from, that
Yes.
she's just a cruel woman.
Indeed. Should we go to the next one, which is Donald Duck and the Gorilla? Did this one feel Halloween to you at all, or was this just like a Friday Night Gone Wrong for Donald?
This is like do you remember this one, Kaycee?
I don't remember this one super well. I kind of tuned out at this one, I think.
Basically, the gist of it is Donald Duck and his nephews are chilling at Donald's pad, and then a radio announcer says that there's a report of an escaped gorilla nearby. So Donald decides to scare the nephews by getting some little gloves, spooking them. They get terrified, and then they get back at him because they've also got a full-fledged gorilla costume at Donald's house. And then they're scaring him, but also the real gorilla comes out, and it causes a lot of trouble with Donald not telling if it's his nephews or the real gorilla, and they have to defeat it. It's a fun enough short. It's a nice little Huey, Dewey, Louie fighting against their uncle and this gorilla. Is fun. Is I.
It was yeah, it was interesting that I feel like no animals ever escape from the zoo except in cartoons or movies, except that one time with the llama. Do y'all remember the llama that was like viral, or the alpaca?
No.
I'm gonna look this up, but have you ever experienced a zoo escape?
I think, yeah, actually, when we were in Dallas for a wedding, this was early 2023, there was an animal loose, like a tiger, a panther, a lion.
Forgot about
it was
this.
like it was a big cat was loose in Dallas on the same day I was roaming around the city.
Yes,
Zach had to
I was
leave.
a groomsman in a wedding, so we had to I had to get ready, I had to get all spiffy looking in case he had time to kill.
Yeah, Zach had to leave early, so I was just exploring Dallas, and then there was a big cat on the loose.
He got an invite to Anthony's wedding, and he had to show up.
Yes, so that's wild because I've never experienced that for myself, but I do remember this news story about like 2 llamas escaped from the Arizona Zoo or something in 2015, and I linked a Washington Post article about it in the chat if y'all want to take a look later. But wild. Yeah, no, but the gorilla escaped. This one is probably also like lower just because it doesn't seem as memorable as the other ones, and maybe it's the aspect that this didn't feel Halloween either. And it was just kind of like a standard short that I feel like we would see Donald Duck get into. Plus, we have 2 other ones, and I thought they were both better as well.
Agreed.
With Donald and his nephews.
I got a question about Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Do you prefer whenever they have the same voice as Donald Duck, like they're very similar, or do you like kind of the DuckTales / Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas where they kind of have like a bit of a higher register where you could like they're basically just talking like in a crackly voice rather than like.
I personally prefer when they sound more like a Scrooge McDuck situation where they're just pretty normal sounding.
See, I think because it's Donald's their uncle, I think it works. But because I saw a clip of Donald Duck with a more normal speaking voice, and it took me out, and I didn't like that.
Not Donald. Donald should always sound crazy, but specifically those kids. Because isn't Scrooge their grandpa?
He's their uncle, yes.
Oh, Scrooge is also their uncle.
Yes.
Okay, well, how are Scrooge and Donald related?
I was gonna ask
maybe I think that Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Donald's their uncle, but Scrooge is their great uncle.
Okay. Well, then who are their parents?
Who is Donald's sibling?
Yeah. Oh, well, have y'all seen the newer DuckTales?
No, I have not.
It's
Feel free
good.
to spoil.
They got Donald's sister, Della Duck, who is the mom of the three boys, played by Paget Brewster.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. And she's long and lost, but she comes back from the moon with a missing leg. She's got a robotic duck leg. And yeah, that's a whole arc in one of its last seasons, but it's solid. They've got a fun rapport.
Does she sound like Donald?
No, she sounds like Paget Brewster.
She sounds like a normal woman.
Is that where you saw the clip of Donald Duck having a regular voice?
Probably.
It's like an invention.
I was not a fan. I was like, ooh. But so like it works for honestly, I think they could do either for Huey, Dewey, and Louie. But I think for me, if you're asking my preference, I think it's the way they are in these shorts, where it's kind of like squeaky as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's also like how they are probably in the Christmas one. And that one I remember, like the Snowball episode or the Snowball short, which is very fun with the snowman. But this one we also incorporate Minnie, Mickey, and Goofy as a vampire, as Minnie is a witch, and then remind me what Goofy is. Is he a ghost?
He's
again?
a bunny. He's a bunny because
and Santa Claus at the end. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and we also get the children pranking Donald as well, getting him back because he stole their candy. How rude! Like what?
Yeah, like in the first one, in Trick or Treat, he was just like playing a prank on them, like a trick or treat in a way. But like this one, he's just stealing their candy, which he kind of gets what's coming to him, honestly.
Karma, yeah.
He had it coming.
He had it coming.
Yeah, no, and he like literally he goes through the ordeal of getting a bowling ball and dressing up a fake Donald in the chair just so he can like scare them, steal their candy, and then watch some TV. His nephews deserve better. Now, do you know how to identify the nephews? Like, is one red, one blue, and one green?
Yes. Louie is the green one. Huey is the red one, and Dewey is the blue one. I think I could be fact checked. I know for a fact.
Checkers?
I know for a fact that Louie is green.
Chipmunks. Yeah.
Yes. Same.
The chipmunks are easier because their names are so different.
Mm-hmm. They're also like very defined, other than like the color that they are. Let's.
Yeah, the ducks are just three of the same guy.
Huey, Dewey, Louie colors. All right, so Huey is red, Dewey is blue, and Louie is green.
Zach was correct.
I was correct.
I've already forgotten.
I love Disney. What can I say?
Yes. Do you have a favorite of the chipmunks? Since we're on this topic.
Simon, probably.
I'm a Theodore guy, voiced by the great Jesse McCartney.
Oh, yes. From the live action movie?
Yes, that's right. And Matthew Gray Gruber.
Goobler.
What a fun last name. Yeah.
Goobler. Matthew Gray Goobler.
And then I think Justin Long is Alvin?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Yeah. And then the final one we have here is Hansel and Gretel, which I was watching it. I was like, oh, I kind of understand what they mean when they say children's stories are supposed to teach children about adults. Because, like, yes, don't go inside a strange lady's house just because she offers you candy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Who are the main players in this one? Is
Mickey and Minnie.
Mickey and Minnie. So two people
and the witch lady
are, in a romantic relationship.
Right.
In a
exactly.
Story normally about siblings.
Yes, I was gonna ask because I thought I was like, wait, weren't they supposed to be siblings? But nope, they were in a romantic relationship, and not only do they eat the candy, They then are like, let me take a. I think it's not just candy; it's sweets, just in general,
Yes.
which I do understand because sweets be yummy.
Mhm.
But I think they end up sleeping over. I'm like, you don't know her.
They're in the woods. What are they gonna do? Just sleep there? That ain't right. They're very trusting.
They are.
Yeah. There's someone out there for everyone.
Mhm.
These two dummies found each other.
But just like the fairy one, this is just incredibly music based, and
Yeah.
I think this one works in that regard very well. I think that it matches it in a good way.
Yeah, this one was really good. I liked this one.
Hmm.
I did as well. And this is the one I remember from when I was younger as well. This is the one where they go into the oven at the end and they have to climb up the bricks of the oven, which I'm like, that's a massive oven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever, because I forgot that they go that deep in the oven originally when we were rewatching it. So by the point they get dragged in, I'm like, oh, they're dead. I don't know how they're gonna get out of this one. But you're right. It's like they're climbing up different bricks.
Hmm. Yeah. And then that's all of our shorts. Now, do you have like a top one and then a final one? Like, what's like the best one, and uh, what's your, I don't know, is least
What's the
favorite too
least?
negative?
Yeah, what's the least Halloweeny? I guess maybe.
Okay, yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I kind of tuned out for that gorilla one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
remember it
kind of
really at
where I'm
all. I
leaning
must
as
have tuned out
well.
really badly. It was right in front of me, and something about it totally glazed over. So my least favorite probably. What was my favorite? Maybe the Hansel and Gretel one, or maybe the one with the witch Hazel and the three Huey, Dewey, and Louie getting back at their uncle. Both good, both really good.
My favorites were probably How to Haunt a House and the one where probably the original with Witch Hazel, the Trick or Treat, Trick or Treat or Halloween. My least favorite, the house one. Could have aired
Yeah.
that anytime. Didn't need to be in the House of Villains.
No, with that, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I will say though, I think of the shorts themselves, that might have been my favorite,
That's fair.
as judged as an individual short. I like that one, and also the Trick or Treat with Hazel. I think that one's probably my favorite. They kicked it off strong for me, personally. I'm with Casey. The gorilla one's kind of a sleeper. I won't remember that one in a week. But I shout out to the Lonesome Ghosts also, just for getting like an
Yes.
old school one. I also think I'll remember the Dance of the Goofies very fondly as
Yeah.
I continue on with my life. Uh, Now, in terms of you all, have you ever dressed up as a Disney character for Halloween? Now that we're moving to the Disney portion.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah.
I was Tinkerbell when I was 3. I don't think it was my choice, but I was cute. I looked great. Trying to think of any others. Like we already talked about with the teacups at the Oogie Boogie Bash.
Was this your first Oogie Boogie Bash?
It was my first one. Yeah. I do think if you're gonna go, you should really go as early as possible.
Yeah,
That was
we
like
got-
my one regret was we got there probably like an hour and a half after the event had started, and there was nothing we could have done about that. Like,
Traffic was terrible.
Traffic was
coming
terrible.
from here and getting to Anaheim.
But next time, if we go back, we'll be a little more prepared because there's just so much stuff to do. Like if you don't get there like right at the top of the hour, you're probably not gonna be able to get everything done. But what we did do was so fun.
I've been so many Disney characters as the years have gone by. At a very early age, I think the first thing that I ever was a Dalmatian from 101 Dalmatians. And then I dressed up as Buzz, Nemo, Stitch, Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean. I was also Stanley Yelnats one year where I had an orange jumpsuit. I carried a shovel around, sewed a little yellow spotted lizard on my side.
Dig it up.
I was Mr. Incredible.
Dang, you were a lot.
I mean, my I come from a very Disney loving family, so my mother raided the Disney store like pretty much from the years I was 2 years old upwards of like 5. And then I wanted to be things like Freddy Krueger and the Joker. So that's, I think, whenever I stopped being Disney characters.
When I was 4, I like got a haircut for the first time in my life. It was like this cute little bob. And my mom was like, "You need to be Snow White. Please be Snow White. I really want you to be Snow White because of the perfect little hair." And I was like, "No, I want to be Superman." I had like this big puffed up muscle costume, and I was going around as trick-or-treating as Superman. And like a lot of people were like kind of giving me weird looks. And my mom was like, "She's a kid. Who cares?
This is what she wanted.
This is what she wanted." The only reason she was upset was because I wasn't Snow White. But yeah, it was really fun. I really wanted to be Superman. I was
breaking barriers,
pushing boundaries, breaking the glass ceiling for women.
What were you for Halloween?
I was Woody for sure when I was 4 or 5. I definitely was Pooh one year and Tigger another. I'm trying to think, were there any others? Bart Simpson, technically a Disney property.
Oh, that's true now. Nowadays,
when I was 10. Yeah, those are some of my early ones that I remember. I'm trying to think if there are others. No, because like I feel like I aged into like vampire for when I was 8, and like more different types of costumes as I got older.
Mm-hmm.
But can't go wrong with a Disney costume, especially at an early age. Like Dalmatian's a great like first Halloween costume. I think I was a pumpkin for mine. Another classic. And then in terms of the villains, so basically in terms of the plot here, we have the villains entering the House of Mouse, and Jafar has a plot with the other villains. I think it's after the Dance of the Goofies or the one with the gorilla. We had the villains take over and they sing "It's Our House Now." They lock Mickey out of the stage, and they have Jafar take over. Now, did you remember the villains having more of a prominent role than I did? Because I thought they were going to be all over this place. I think I asked my question incorrectly. I thought they were going to be more involved with the film. They were such a minor part of it. It was mostly shorts. And I thought, in my memory, they had more of a role.
I think the same. I think in my memory they were going to do more, but as you know, an adult who I think back on all of like House of Mouse, House of Villains, all these things, it's like it's just an excuse to run old cartoons, basically. An excuse to do very little new animation and then just rerun old stuff. So I knew going into it, it's like, oh, it's probably not gonna have as much like quote unquote new animation as I remember it happening.
Which is a shame because there's so many possibilities that you could do with it, and like they only scratch the surface on what you can do. It's Our House Now is such a great villain song, but it's too short. And the villains that we do focus on, I guess now in the grand scheme of things, if they were to redo this, they could do a lot more, because it's a weird combination of Jafar and Ursula, which were like the big ones of the 90s. And then you have Cruella and Captain Hook, and Hades for a little bit. You could definitely do a lot more with people now, whether it be like Scar or Oogie Boogie.
Scar was a notable miss, as was Gaston.
No Gaston. Yeah, he's doing a conga line whenever they sing "It's Our House Now." We also got Stronghold and LeFou. Yeah.
And Chernerbog. We had like a lot of them appeared, but like you said, Jafar and Ursula kind of like led the charge with like the assistance of Captain Hook and Cruella. But we need a reboot so that we could have Lotso Huggenbear and Abuela from Encanto.
She's a victim of circumstance, but she's awful. Yes. Yeah, you could get like Mother Gothel in there.
Yeah, she'd be great. Yeah,
because you have the Pixar villains now too. Like I would love to see Randall in a conga line.
Yeah, absolutely.
I recently watched Transformers 1, and Steve Buscemi has a role in it, and I was like, oh my god, it's Randall.
I
Have
mean,
you
so
seen
what were we
Transformers 1 yet?
watching? Where I was like, that's the voice of Winnie the Pooh. What was that?
Oh wait, in the new Transformer, in like the animated Transformers?
The animated one, yeah.
Okay, I was about to say like in the Shia LaBeouf one, but
No.
No Transformers.
The
but what were
animated
you
one.
saying?
We were watching a clip of something yesterday. I'm like, that's Winnie the Pooh.
Was it the
What
House
was
of Villains?
Um,
'Cause I
it
think-
was House of it. It's the villain Ka,
Oh,
like the snake.
yes. Of course, it
Yes.
was the thing we're watching for this podcast. I was like, why does he sound like Winnie the Pooh? And Zach's like, that is Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, back in the early days of Disney, Sterling Holloway was like one of their go-to voice actors because he is the OG Winnie the Pooh. He's also Ka, and he's the stork in Dumbo.
Voice is a little too distinct to be doubling up like that.
But this one was like the Jim Cummings interpretation, right?
Oh, for sure, yes. Because
Okay.
Sterling
Yeah.
Holloway, by I think the '90s, was like getting up there in age.
Yes. The other one who's kind of like he does a lot of stuff is Phil Harris. That was one that when I was a kid, I was like, oh my god, Baloo has the same voice as Little John, for example.
And Mr. or the O'Malley cat too.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so we get basically the takeover, and then at the end of the movie, Aladdin, voiced by Steve from Full House,
Yes.
throws the lamp and says, "Use the lamp," and they take Jafar back into the lamp. But like, I'm just out here being like, Ursula's still around, Cruella, like they just like all give up.
Ursula can like turn into like a 9-story tall beast. She could crush them, but
Most of them can be a dragon. Take the lamp.
yeah.
Where were you 5 minutes ago?
Aladdin was chilling in like the utility closet with carpet. Like, I don't fucking know. I don't know.
A lot about House of Mouse and House of Villains raises so many questions for me because it's not like Aladdin at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
it's Aladdin still in his street rat clothes. And when we see like Simba and Nala, it's not them as grown lions. It's them when they're like little baby lions. So like, I don't know.
It's like,
I have a lot of questions.
Are they actors who perform in these movies and they're known as like Aladdin? So is it just like, I don't know, Tim Jake Oliver and he plays Aladdin, or is it like Aladdin? Very confusing. But
if that were the case, why are the villains still villainous?
Exactly.
There's so many
method acting.
It's an excuse to let all these characters be in the same space.
I don't want to raise too many questions because, like I've already said, this is just an excuse for Disney to run old clips while putting very little new money into the situation.
It's very much a clip show in any TV show.
Yes, it's a clip show. The whole show is a clip show, though. It's not like, Avatar: The Last Airbender when they were like, hey, we need to do a clip show. So, because it's cheap and then everybody will know what's going on. And they were like, we don't want to do that. So then they did the Ember Island Players episodes, which are some of the best episodes in the entire series. But that just came about because they didn't want to do a clip show.
Yeah, and it's not like they're making any new sketches for the House of Mouse other than the interstitial stories. They're just like, ooh, now let's watch this tale or this story. It's not like Jafar and Hades are putting on like a sketch. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me a flashback to Chippendale Rescue Rangers, where like if they were actors and they show up and this is kind of like their hangout spot and they just watch the greatest hits at the clubhouse and then go home. It's kind of reminiscent of like how they were actually actors in their movies or their show. Yeah, Aladdin was slacking. He could have helped out so much earlier.
Even Genie, whenever like there's that moment at the end of the song This Is Our House Now, and all the cards from the Queen of Hearts are like pushing the heroes into like the kitchen, and Geppetto's there, Winnie the Pooh's in there, but the Genie is also there. The Genie could stop this easily too.
Agreed. There were like a couple of characters that could have stepped in at any point and they would have helped. King Triton, where you at?
King Triton, yeah. But it's cute. It's very cute. If you're going in there expecting a big bombastic, all the villains from your favorite Disney movies are going to be putting a big evil, they're going to have a takeover. That's not what this is. And if that's what you're looking for, you'll be disappointed. But if you're looking for something cute and nostalgic and spooky to start off the Halloween season, I think this is very cute for what it is.
Yeah, I think if you're going into it being like, this is just a curated collection of spooky, scary, thrilling Disney cartoons, it's like, yeah, great, thank you. But yeah, if you're looking for something more, hold for Molly.
We're recording in our living room, and in 3, 2, 1, our roommate Molly has entered the podcast.
Molly's here. Charlie's trying to escape.
Charlie is our cat as well.
Hello.
No, Charlie's a man who lives here and he's trying to escape.
You didn't clarify at all, so for first-time listeners.
Does Molly have any strong takes about the House of Villains?
Oh, she
She's
didn't
escaped.
watch it. Yeah, she's run. She's
Valid.
already run away.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, go on, Felipe.
who is a villain or character that you wish we had seen more that was existent at the time?
Even like the evil queen, she's the first one to pull up from Snow White. She's the first person to enter the House of Mouse. I think that would have been, I mean, she's always cool. She's just trying to give everybody apples and be sinister. This needed like a witch. And Jafar's a sorcerer.
Ursula's a witch.
Ursula is a witch, but like Jafar gets a lot of the heavy lifting in this. I'd even like to get more Iago in there. He only has one line.
It is Jafar heavy. I wish you've seen Scar. Let's get a lion in there.
Get an animal in here,
See
yeah.
how he interacts with everyone.
He's a
Was
diva.
Yzma-
He'd probably enjoy it.
Was Yzma not available, or was this before Emperor's New
It
Groove
was,
came out?
I think it was too new. So
Yeah.
Yzma would have been so good in this.
I would love to watch, like, actually, I take this back. We don't need the Yzma origin story, but if we got it, that would be one that I'd be like, okay, I'm here for this. Versus, no disrespect to Barry Jenkins, we love. I don't need the Mufasa. I don't need the Mufasa prequel film.
That trailer is so funny. Like, we're constantly quoting specifically the part where he's like,
the little Scar
The
and
little
Mufasa
Scar.
are hanging out with each other, being playful kids, and Scar tells him, "Oh, you know, Mufasa, I always wanted a brother."
and then it echoes, I always wanted a brother. I always wanted a brother. And it's just, the trailer's pretty epic beside that, but that just feels so sloppy and weird.
Like it's part of a song that
that
is
they're
going to be used later,
included,
but they're
yeah.
just like stretching that one little piece of it. I don't
I've
know
always
about
wanted a
Mufasa.
brother. What did we say earlier? And we've been like incorporating it into other stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe we should. I literally today I was like, maybe we should go to Target and get a pizza pan.
And then I immediately went to Casey and was like, I always wanted a pizza pan.
I've always
wanted a pizza pan.
Oh, man.
Are you not looking forward to Mufasa?
I need to go in and watch it and be like, okay, this isn't canon, because I don't want the story to undercut The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
And
Fair.
I just like, that's my fear. Like, I understand that it is tempting IP to touch. We didn't ask for this. I would have
Yes.
much rather seen an origin story about like Shenzai, Banzai, and Ed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do think that because Barry Jenkins is excited about it, that makes me more excited about it. I do trust Barry Jenkins as a filmmaker. He seems very excited about the technology behind it.
He's excited for that paycheck, is what he is.
Yeah, he's excited for that paycheck. But also it does just raise a lot of, just the trailer raises a lot of questions where it's like, oh yeah, okay, so are they trying to suggest, Scar was he was in line for the throne, and then Mufasa took it away
He
from
was
him?
adopted.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe Scar had a point. I don't know. I understand why he was
Scar to have a point. I need Scar to be this like very campy, silly little lion lad.
Yeah, he's very like, whenever you look at the original Lion King, he's very Shakespearean in a way that he's also kind of like a queen at one point. Like by the time that he gets control of the kingdom and he kills all the plants, and him and Zazu are chilling in the cave, and he's like, oh, it's the lioness's job to hunt. He's very much a diva at that point.
Listen, we love our Disney villains a little bit diva-ish.
Yeah, be prepared for sensational news.
I mean, they are gay icons for a reason.
Yeah. It's very queer coded because many of the
Yes.
animators who animated the villains at the time were gay.
Yeah,
Yes.
and also, I mean, that's where a lot of the stories come from during that time as well. Is about a character who feels like an outsider, living their dream of belonging.
Yeah, exactly. There's layers.
Last year I watched the Howard Ashman documentary,
So good.
and it's so good. But then also just like hearing him talk about like the mob song and like some of that, I was like, oh, this is so layered and so interesting, and those levels are very interesting to look at. But sometimes we just need a campy, dramatic villain like Scar, like Yzma. Those are some of the most memorable and fun characters in the Disney lore.
Yeah.
Agreed. It's good whenever they're just evil and they love being evil. Like there doesn't need to be a justification or some sad backstory for it.
I agree wholeheartedly. But that's essentially our movie. Is there other stuff that we haven't discussed that you wanted to hit on?
Not with House of Villains.
Yeah.
But the substance?
Kaycee? The substance? Who was the most likely to, from the Disney Cinematic Universe, to participate in the Demi Moore substance experiment?
I think probably like the evil queen.
Yeah, she basically does take the substance. Well, the opposite way.
Yeah, so it's, you know, she's the movie The Substance is about a woman who she's like in her 50s and her heyday is behind her. She's an actress. She's like she does exercise videos like Jane Fonda, and her show is getting canceled. She's getting kicked out. They want to replace her with someone newer, younger. That's basically what's going on with the evil queen.
There are a lot of
she's worried that someone younger and prettier is going to come along. So I mean, she's truly the journey in The Substance is kind of very similar to what the evil queen goes through, except the evil queen is never trying to become younger and beautiful, which seems like the answer. If she can turn into an old witch, why doesn't she just turn into a hotter, younger woman? I don't know.
I've had a second to think about this, and I guess if anybody's creating The Substance, it would be Yzma, because she's always transforming into other animals, other beings, people. Not a lot of the I guess in a way, Ariel takes the substance.
Ariel turns into someone else.
Yeah, she turns into a more defined version, or just a person. And then Ursula, whenever she's like, now it's happened once or twice, someone couldn't pay the price, and they turn into those like weird little shrimp scale thingies. That's kind of what happens in The Substance too.
There's a lot of shrimp in The Substance.
There is a lot of shrimp.
Like Dennis Quaid eating shrimp.
Well, it's like one scene, but it feels like it goes on forever.
It's a lot. You're seeing a lot of shrimp in front of you, in your eyes. I won't spoil it too much though, but it is.
Go check it out.
Go check it out.
No one's seen that much shrimp since Drake and Josh.
And the really big shrimp.
Yes.
Have you ever seen one this big?
Well, actually, this is a great transition to my final question for you both. Are there any other Halloween episodes, movies, Disney Channel original movies, perhaps, of like any Halloween traditions in terms of the cinema, the music, the television that you consume?
Love The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, classic.
I'm a big Hocus Pocus believer in this household, even though
1 and 2 or just 1?
I will watch scenes from 2, like the scenes when they're in the pharmacy. And their song number, I think, are wonderful, but it's not as strong as the original.
The Community episode, the Halloween one, where it's
the
like
Walking Dead one, basically.
Yeah, zombies. That's really good TV.
The episode of That's So Raven, where they turn into cows, a classic.
Stay tuned to the Brazilian Dragon podcast for coverage on that episode. A very unhinged episode, but of television and podcasting with my friend AJ. So if anyone's ever listened to an AJ podcast, you know those get off the rails pretty quickly. But in terms of the you mentioned Hocus Pocus, you also have brought to my attention Scary Godmother, which I have
Love
never
Scary Godmother.
consumed. Casey, are you familiar with the Scary Godmother?
I'm familiar with it. I don't know if I've ever seen it. Was it
Really?
was it on Cartoon Network?
Yes.
Then yeah, I've seen it. I just don't remember it.
The animation doesn't hold up, but I think it's a very clever script. I think a lot of the jokes still hold up very well.
I vaguely remember like commercials for it, but I don't think I ever sat through it. Also, unrelated tangent, you might be the only people that might have actually seen Fly Me to the Moon with Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum. Potentially. I don't know if you have or haven't. Okay.
Did not see it.
Well, I was going to ask what you thought of Jim Rash's performance, but if you ever do watch it, please let me know because I'm a big Jim Rash guy.
Oh, he's great. Oscar winner Jim Rash.
Yeah, Oscar winner Jim Rash.
We love it.
The only Academy Award winner who's done a peanut rap.
I'm a peanut bar and I'm here to say. So many of the Dean's lines just live in my mind. The one that I always think about, which is such a throwaway line in Community, is when he runs into Jeff at the mall and then he says, this is just like that movie, The Lake House. I assume even I have my limits. Which is so funny. And I watched The Lake House. We watched it not that long ago. It's actually a really good movie.
It's a fine little romance.
It's a very good romance.
And it doesn't really resonate with the situation that the Dean explains at all, which is so funny. It's so funny. A crazy movie to pull that line for.
Yeah.
Oh, we love Jim Rash. Well, unless y'all have anything else, I think we can start to wind this bad boy down. Where can the good people of the world keep up with you if you want them to? Like, do you have anything to promote? Also, tell everyone about your podcast one more time and where you can check that out. But where can the good people of the Brazilian Dragon listenership keep up with Zack and Kaycee if they'd like?
Celluloid Jam usually comes out once a year. About the movies from the previous year that we loved. And then you can go to our Instagram. We do have an Instagram, I think it's cellulojam _ the podcast.
Yeah.
And then it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the usual places.
Mm-hmm. And if everything goes according to plan, it should release on New Year's Eve of every year. Schedule permitting, stuff always happens.
Yeah, we're already like thinking this year. It's like, okay, we got to go see Nosferatu, and that's coming out on Christmas. So then we got to record a little bit after Christmas, and then it's like, well, it'll come out around December 31st, January 1st.
Once a year.
Yeah. Sometimes, if you're lucky, twice a year if you split it up in 2 parts.
Siren.
Also, a great throwback episode to Candace Against the Universe.
That was a fun time, and that's a fun special. I love that one.
Yeah, it's fun.
Next year, the new Phineas and Ferb series should drop.
Oh yeah,
supposedly. Did you watch the trailer for Wizards Beyond Waverly Place?
I did.
I watched part of it with the sound off.
My friend said she went to a taping and she said, as a fan of the original, she approves.
Okay.
Good, nice.
And in terms of me, I'll do a bumper at the end of this, but basically Brazilian Dragon on all social media platforms and all podcast listening applications. And go support Celluloid Jam as well. This has been House of Villains, House of Mouse. And until next time, everybody, obrigadero for listening. Happy spooky season. Goodbye. We did it.
Bye.